Good morning, happy people, or not so
Morning.
happy people, depending on what exactly is going on in your life this morning. It's all going down, sure. That was a bit of forced laughter. I'll stop doing that. Sorry about that. Jesus. Yeah, I know. Terrible. So Simpiwe is at home this morning instead of being in the studio as usual because we thought the only person who can absolutely get to the studio without giving a shit is Bulelo, mostly because he doesn't give a shit. Full stop. Right?
That's true. Yep.
That's you.
Well said.
That's your thing.
Well said.
The rest of us are working from home today, which is not so different to everybody else in the country who can. Of course, there are many millions of South Africans who can't and who have to face today and go, am I going? Am I not going? And obviously, it's not about coronavirus, you know. So let's just get straight into it because I've had so many calls and messages from people and people just saying, well, what the hell do you make of all of this? The truth is, I don't know. What I can tell you is that we're not the only country that's going through shit at the moment. And if you consider the kinds of riots that America has been exposed to for the whole of 2020, those were riots about, George Floyd and about racism, but it was also just an opportunity for criminals to loot and to steal and to break shit down and to burn things. You saw what the English did after they lost the football on Sunday. There were a whole lot of English people burning things and breaking shit down and looting. There were people doing even worse things in Haiti, like assassinating their prime minister. President. I don't even think he was the prime minister. He was the president. And the world's a little bit edgy at the moment, in case you hadn't noticed, and it has something to do with the fact that many of us have been cooped up for over a year with this fear, this sort of Damocles hanging over our heads about what we're going to do next. I think people need to be very, very sensible right now and take a big, deep breath, not try to make it all about you because that's a normal inclination that we all have. Not think that you're the worst off or the best off person on earth, not just consider what's going on in your own life and think that that is projected onto everyone else's life. There are very many people who are in greater and worse danger than you are today. And South Africa's been through much worse than this, and you don't have to be 1,000 years old to know that. You just have to have been there around 1992, 94, when there were huge worries about what would happen. And as Sipho Shezi, who was our guest on the Burning Platform, said last week, there are power vacuums that have grown in places like KwaZulu-Natal, and the reason that we have the kind of excuse, the kind of final straw that breaks the camel's back that we've just had now is because this has been building up for a very long time. Over the last 10 years, many South Africans have thought, everything's fine, it'll just carry on as usual. And it won't. So let's just get this out of the way straight away. I haven't prepared any kind of monologue, but I did receive a message from somebody who actually sent this out to his workers yesterday, the people who work for him. And I thought, you know what? This actually is probably the most sensible thing I've read on the whole. And it's short on this whole, all the violence that's going on, the looting, the destruction that we see. And people are looking for answers. And I think this is probably the best one that I've seen. He said yesterday, good morning, everyone. The unrest we are seeing and experiencing is nothing more than the purging of the criminal elements within our society who have up to now been working in the shadows with impunity due to tacit support from people higher up in the political spectrum. Can't really argue with that, right? That makes sense. They're rebelling because the message has finally got to them that their time is at an end, that their behavior won't be tolerated anymore. They won't win. They know it. We know it. They just refuse to accept it. Be patient. The best thing you can do is get on with what needs to be done in the day. And that means, obviously, for most of us, it means just practical things. You've got that to-do list that I showed you yesterday. And you've got things to do. You've got people in your family and your life to look after. You've got your own health to look after. Those are things you can do. You can't stop the violence, although I've got to say there are many, many brave men and women all over this country who have decided to look after their own communities in the face of all of this stupidity that we're seeing. And they're going out there and they are patrolling around at night and they've got their guns and they're blocking streets off. And, it's kind of It does feel a little bit like The Purge, but it also feels like these people are the kind of neighbors that you wish you had. If shit does go down, these are the kind of people you want. Anyway, he carries on. He goes, the best thing you can do is get on with what needs to be done in the day. There will be something new, and this will be behind us. A better future, perhaps, for all of us lies at the other end of this. And I think that that's a question of optimism or pessimism. There are a lot of people who think that all that's happened in South Africa over the last 10 years is that since Jacob Zuma came into our reality, everything's just gone backwards. And that's not true. There are a number of things that have happened in South Africa that have been the advances the whole world has made in terms of technology, communication, interaction, engagement, a development which doesn't care who the politicians are. We've become part of a globalized and connected world, and that can't be taken away from you now, not by any government. And you heard the president yesterday. I thought that was one of his most sober and sensible and thoughtful and honest discussions. It's one of the best things he said. Is like, we've got to get through this, and we will. And he's going to deploy the army where they need it, and he's going to make sure that people are safe, that people feel safe. And this is the only time I'll say, stay safe, stay home, without making fun of it. But if you can today, don't look for trouble. That's really all. And we'll weather this storm, and we'll see what's on the other side. But don't go and make any rash decisions. Don't fall into negativity, which would be easy to do considering the year everybody's had. Just hold your chin up and don't panic. There are a lot of good people out there. There are more good people than bad. South Africa is full of good people. Don't let the bad ones set the agenda for everyone. That's it, really. That's all I had to say.
Okay.
And if you, by the way, if you're in the suburbs, you're fine. Like, relax. The amount of people in the northern suburbs messaging me, each and every single one of them, I just said, shut the hell up and relax. You're fine.
Well, I sent you a message this morning. I said, Bulelo, do you see any action on the way into work today? And you were like, no. All the yuppies don't have to stress. They can go to shop. You do your Woolworths shopping this morning. You'll be fine.
I've said this before. The yuppies where I live need to be slapped in the face daily because, quite frankly, you are fine in your estate. Let's all do each other a favor. This idea that you want to be part of the people, you're not. There is a divide. You're fine. Take Sally to school and shut the hell up.
Schools are closed, so turn on the laptop.
Yeah, schools are closed, and many shops are actually closed in Bulelo, even in the suburbs. So people are just being careful. People are just being careful, and I mean that's across Gauteng and KZN mostly. There are definitely parts of KZN where there was good reason to worry. I don't want to make fun of people. If you look at some of those videos that we're seeing on the internet today, it's just, I mean, really, it's frightening how. And the funniest thing is there's this video, they had it on the news. I love these people who try to make excuses for like criminals. They try to excuse criminality because they feel, I know, but it's just poor people, just desperate. Now, if you're stealing a, I don't know, 533,000 inch TV, that's not because you're hungry and desperate. That's just because you are stealing a TV. No. That's all there is to it. There was this guy on the news last night. He was trying to put one of those enormous TVs, like a Hisense or a Samsung or something. He was trying to put it in the back seat of his Toyota Corolla. Okay, but the old Toyota Corolla. And it wouldn't fit in the back. It wouldn't fit in the back seat. Then he tried to put it in the boot. It wouldn't fit in the boot. And for, I don't know, 2 minutes, they were showing this guy trying to do this while cops are running past him. There's like gunshots in the distance. There's fire breaking out in the building next door. It's like chaos. And this man's, he's got his TV. That's why he's there,
Yeah. If there's one thing about people, they will loot what's important to them. So if the TV is important, best believe that's what they're getting.
And also, if someone is stealing a TV, I think, just shoot them. There's just no reason that you need to worry about that person's contribution to society. If you are using an opportunity of lawlessness and chaos to steal a TV, the police can take you out, and I'm not going to feel sorry for you. I have nothing more to say about that person and their Toyota Corolla. I mean, if it's worth risking your life, potentially getting arrested. And there are hundreds of people who are in jail all over the country right now who have been arrested for stealing. But if you, if you're one of those people who prioritizes getting a TV in all of this, you're not a serious person. I can't take you seriously. So here are a couple of comments from people. Let's see what everybody's saying this morning. Andre says, I'm having a bad hair day. And I just decided this was I'm allowed to not care enough. Informal Reports says, are these riots really about what happened to Zuma, or was Zuma's situation an excuse for people to riot because they feel their voice hasn't been heard for the longest time? Well, I guarantee you many, in fact, perhaps even a majority of those people who are rioting and who are looting aren't even interested in Jacob Zuma. They don't care about him. It's just an opportunity for them to do whatever they want and behave like monsters, and they will. And they prove every day that they deserve to be treated with disdain, whether they're rich or poor, or black or white, or dangerous or not dangerous. You are judged by your behavior. And in the case of all these people, they must be judged by their behavior. Arrest them all. If they are caught doing harm to another person, a woman or a child, shoot them. Nobody cares. Society is full, right? We don't need more people in the world. I know this sounds extremely callous, but if people give you a reason during a time like this to believe that they're not responsible and that they're stupid and that they're dangerous, this is your opportunity, if you're the police, to do the right thing and just get them under control. And if getting them under control means, boom, then too bad. I saw lots and lots of people in, I think it was, what's the place called in Durban? Like Montclair or something. They had this community policing bunch, right? And they were doing a night shift and a day shift. But these were serious people. And it was a mix of black and white and Indian people who were protecting their own homes. Not rich people, not people who've got like the estate living that you talk about there in Bulelo. These are just ordinary folks in a normal neighborhood, right? They're worried about their kids. They're worried about their property. And I thought, this is good. Like these are good. These are the good people. These are the people I want for neighbors. Anyway, Togozo says, great way to start the morning. I thought that we'd get grumpy, Gareth. No, I'm not grumpy. I'm not grumpy at all. Jameen says, yesterday for the first time, I felt like there's no fucking way. I can't be here anymore. Yeah, I live in the northern suburbs, but I'm still a person. I'm better today. Yeah, you'll get over it too. People, as I said at the start of this little discussion, you don't do what everybody does and make it about you. Msizi says, never been an activist, never really cared enough for politics, but yesterday I found myself unarmed in between a mob and our local shop with my fellow residents.
Oh my God.
Luckily, it wasn't a huge number. Yeah, you see, Msizi, now what do? You're unarmed. You've got a mob coming towards you. It's very scary. I'm glad you're all right. That's all I can say. Dogozo says, I'm in the suburbs in KZN and we're not really fine. Gunshots and stun grenades were going off right next to me yesterday. See. DK says, soon it'll be time for the looters that looted the food. It'll be time to loot the looters that looted the food. So, yeah, you see, unfortunately, this is what also happens. Like, looters are very short-term thinkers. These are not the world's brightest people, right? Because they get whatever they can carry or whatever they can squeeze into their car or a packet. I saw people wheeling sofas out of furniture shops. Like, really, guys, this is the time to get yourself some furniture. Furniture.
Hey man, it's a free upgrade. Who has 15,000 rand for a sofa?
Jeez. I don't understand it. Anyway, you can't, if you're a looter, you can't really be a very serious person, because whatever you're stealing, first of all, most of us can see you. They're not covering up their faces or anything, so we know who you are. Someone's going to recognize you, and thanks to social media these days, everyone is on the internet at some point, right? Places like the Durban CBD, there are a couple of CCTV cameras around. The cops are filming things. There are people, ordinary folks, filming things. That's how we get the videos on WhatsApp that we all get. If you're going to go to jail for stealing like groceries, and trust me, again, this is not because those people are desperate. If they were desperate, they were desperate last week as well, but they weren't looting last week. I'm judging you by your behavior. Natasha says KZN was a war zone yesterday and last night. Yeah, I mean it's just I feel very, very sorry for people who are in the thick of this, wherever you are. Rowan says people even looted a blood bank. I never knew. Yeah, underground vampire black
Are they
market.
going to drink the blood?
Who Angaz? It's just people would just feel. This is my point. It's not thought through. No one's thinking this through. It's not being coordinated, right? What is really irritating is all the ex-South Africans, says Carol, who are posting from abroad saying what a shithole South Africa is, those cards. Yeah, well, they maybe made a better choice than the rest of us in a moment like that.
But there is nobody more sanctimonious than the South Africans in like in England for 3 years later, and it's just everything works here, and it's you know what, me and the wife made the right call. Geez,
I know. No, I know why you and Carol hate those people, and I get it. But
revolting.
There's something to be said for the fact that that they made a decision, a difficult decision. They're going to uproot themselves and go somewhere else, and now they get to crow about it while fucking Durban's on fire. They're allowed.
You know what my policy is you can't leave your ex-wife, right? You've got your new wife now. You don't call your ex-wife to tell her how well it's going. You live your life. You got a new wife. Now you're in England. Stay there. Great. Carry on. We're delighted for you. UK, Australia, we are delighted that you're happy. You're in the brown snakes in Australia. Great. We don't need to hear from you. We're done with you now. You should be done with us.
I say again, it's like Mbulelo, if you predict something and then it happens, you want to crow about it a little bit. That's what they're doing. Give them a chance to have their moment to shine. Next week when things are back to normal, they're not going to have anything to talk about anymore. They'll still be talking about today and yesterday's violence. They even looted Gift of the Givers, says Melissa. Now that you have to be some piece of shit to steal from a charity. Kerry says, take a look at the North Coast Courier. Apparently, Belito and Salt Rock were protected by private citizens yesterday and all of last night. There were many attempts to head to the shopping complexes and the estates. Yeah, you know what? In times like this, you really can't. The only differentiation that matters isn't the haves and the have-nots anymore. In a moment like this, the only thing that matters is, are you a criminal or are you a law-abiding citizen? And if you're a law-abiding citizen, then all of us should stand with you, regardless of whether you've got way more than me or whether you've got way less than me, whether you're more educated than me, whether you have a nicer job than me. We all have to stand together as law-abiding citizens in a time like this against the criminals. That's all there is to it, right, Kerry? So if you are with the law-abiding people, I'm your friend. Then I'm here for you. If you're a criminal, and that goes for people who steal a bag of rice or for people who steal 3 TVs, I'm not with you. I cannot be with you. If you're committing arson, if you're burning down a taxi, a train, a shop, a library, a house, I can't be with you. Sorry. Then you must go to jail. And whatever happens to you is not my problem anymore. I don't care about you at all. There's no room for compassion with people like that. Apparently, Riv1 says that he's got a video of the Metro Police also looting, pulling cooler boxes into their taxi. I saw that as well.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, again, they've arrested some cops. The citizens have arrested some cops in KZN who joined in all of this. And I hope those people get punished even harder. In fact, they will when they go to jail, because there'll be people they arrested in the jail. And those people have even more reason to hate them than we do, right? Anyway, I mean, look, you get these WhatsApps and then you get these videos from people. And another thing that I've noticed is it's the same 5 or 10 videos that everybody got yesterday on all the different groups that you might be on. So that means there are maybe 5 to 10 very, very serious things going down that were worth sharing for people on here. The rest might have been of moderate concern or of minor concern. But I don't think we need to dramatize this. What's happening is happening. Switzerland's ATM bombing is the new norm here. This is interesting. Now, you see in Switzerland, a country which, Mbulelo, you've crowed about how fantastic they are, how first world they are.
Oh, sorry, no. I just said my mom lived there. I've never said Switzerland's fantastic. Okay, it's functional, but yeah.
No, you did say the other day, though, that they even wanted to chase you out of a building because you flushed your toilet after 11, remember?
Yeah. No, I've never, ever said Switzerland's fantastic. Anybody who's ever said I've ever said that is crazy. There's nothing.
Well, the skiing is.
No, listen, Verbia, different place. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. That's how rich people talk. All right. Anyway, Sven says Switzerland's ATM bombing's the new norm. French gangs come over and cross the border back again with the loot. We had one little village in March. It happened right in front of our house. See, that's Switzerland. Guys, the world is in a very, very difficult place right now. There are millions of people who are extremely frustrated. They haven't been able to work. They haven't been able to go out. They haven't been able to see other people. They haven't lived normally for a whole year and a half. What do you think's going to happen? Now it's my turn to crow like those South Africans who left the country and, think they made the right choice. I said in March last year, these lockdowns are a terrible idea. I said the economic devastation of these lockdowns is going to be felt for months, and it will only manifest itself properly in a few months' time. And the way it'll manifest itself in a few months' time is desperation and criminality and stupidity from the people who think they've got nothing left to lose. And that's precisely what we're seeing now. So I hate to say I told you so, but all those people who were like pro-lockdown and this is great and let government keep making rules for us, well, you've got to be able to enforce those rules. And while Becky Cele and Cyril and, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma were busy arresting surfers, and people like me and Bulelo and Simpiwe, not that we got arrested, but for having booze in their car. Do you remember that? When that was a thing? They were busy arresting
curfew.
Do you remember curfew? Like you were 5 minutes out of curfew and like you were stopped by the police. Now, they were stopping people like us. Now you get to see what real crime looks like. You get to see what really bad people look like. And, sure, there are a lot of these people who they're just caught up in the moment. They're just doing what mobs do. No one's really coordinating them. They're not sitting there going, right, tonight I'm going to go out and be a complete bastard and burn something down or steal something. They just go, well, my neighborhood's just on fire. I might as well get what I can get. It's not right. I don't give them any excuses. I'm not trying to explain their behavior. They must still be arrested. They must still face the full brunt and might of the law. But those people, that's how they're thinking at the moment. Cyril and his cabal of thieves have been eating at the trough for 27 years, says John Douglas. And no one has been in jail, but now his people have had enough and want to eat just like the leaders in government. Well, I'd say in this case, these people they're saying they're Zuma's people, right? But are they really? Because I don't think many of these people even know where Jacob Zuma is right now. I don't think they know.
They don't even know what's going on. So there's a clip of this one guy, and they're like, "Why are you here? Why are you looting?" And he's like, "I don't know. And then he runs off. So it's like, okay.
Did you see that dude who was standing in like the Durban CBD, and everybody else is running around him, and there's him in the middle of the picture with a dildo? Even not the best of our, even our criminals are embarrassed by a guy like that. The criminals are like, "That's bro. Why are you embarrassing us like this?" Because he's standing there with a dildo, and like everybody else got a TV, and he got a dildo. What a fucking idiot! All right. Sven says, no. Our restrictions were not as bad as the rest of Europe. We were still allowed to move around here and exercise during the hard lockdown. Yes, but the French next door, where your criminals are coming from, Sven, they had some hard lockdowns. Anyway, Dogozo says, it just kind of felt like we were making some progress as a country. Heads were rolling, investments were coming in, vaccines were being rolled out. We didn't need this right now. But this is exactly when these things happen, guys. This is exactly when these things happen. These things don't happen when everything is working, because people would mostly know that they're going to be consequences to stupid behavior. And even the politicians knew that they could only get away with so much. When times are good, nobody cares. But when times get bad, everybody has to care. You get away with it.
But I have a question. How are you saying we're making progress when the government looted 500 billion rand? That's not progress at all.
Looters, these guys are maybe getting a TV and a dildo. Our government got 500 billion rand out of the system. Those are the real looters you need to worry about. And Natasha says, Gareth, do you think the worst is over? or will this continue until they get to the shops and malls that they want to? Our locals fought back in small pockets of mobs until 2 a.m. this morning. Well, Natasha, I don't know. I mean, it's going to depend on every area. And it also depends on how many people there are. Depends on what kind of pushback the community give them. But I'll tell you what, I would still rather be on the side of good law-abiding South Africans than on the side of these crooks and thieves. And they are. You can see it's like this is their chance to steal, man. This is their chance to do all the things that they secretly have wanted to do while they've been sitting on their backside unemployed for the longest time. These are not sophisticated people, Not people who've got a plan.
Yeah. Generally, these kind of people tire. Obviously, Douglas Adams probably has the most famous book about such behavior. Madness of Crowds. If you haven't read it, it's an interesting. Yes. Hey, yes. You've got time. You got time now.
Douglas Murray, not Douglas
Murray,
Adams.
Sorry, Douglas Murray.
Excellent book.
But Slavoj Žižek, famed psychoanalyst, has a great book as well called Violence, and in it he says violence is the language of the disenfranchised. But yeah, if you are interested in maybe taking some time to kind of look into this kind of stuff from a psychoanalytical point of view, I mean, Žižek is the Lacan of our time, and he's got an awesome way of looking at America's riots and just this sort of behavior. Yeah, so Slavoj Žižek on Violence, highly recommended.
Yeah,
if you care of the theory of such.
Those are both good suggestions. Violence and Madness of Crowds. By the way, later on we're going to be joined by Toya DeLazy. Now, not only is she a well-known singer and a rapper, pianist, dancer, producer, but she's also Zulu royalty, right? I mean, she's Latoya Nondogozo Buthelezi, and we'll find out from her about the kind of strange life she has, because in the middle of being an artist and having what has easily been for artists the crappiest year and a half ever, can't perform, can't really do very much. She's also lost close family, and very public close family, and I've always wondered about how it goes. And we'll speak to Toya DeLazy a little bit later on about that. It's been 6 years since she released music, and I'm curious as to what she's been up to. And she believes her existence, just her existence alone, triggers a lot of hatred from people because she comes from the royal family. So we'll find out about that. That was in the news, actually, with Times Live just a couple of days ago. So that's the reason we're getting her on, but it's always good to have her on. Anyway, Sun Tzu, the famous Chinese philosopher, Sun Tzu said, "An evil enemy will burn his own nation to rule over the ashes." Sun Tzu. And I saw Julius Malema put out this ridiculous tweet yesterday. I mean, really, not at a time like this. If Donald Trump was shut down over the January 6th riots, the Capitol riots, if they took the president of the United States off the internet because he was inciting violence, then they need to take Julius Malema off of Twitter right now. He's not doing anybody any good, right? He put up a tweet saying basically, war declared on civilians. This is his thing, right? War declared on civilians is what he said. This is last night. Dude, you're not helping. Like, he would like, as that quote from Gareth that he's just sent us now from Sun Tzu, he'd like to rule over the ashes and burn his own nation down rather than be a good person and help build. That's the truth. And people
there's nothing good about him. Embarrassed that he's Betty, number one. So he's a Betty guy.
Yeah, he's half of your people.
What, you disown him? You don't recognize?
He is so embarrassing.
Behavior.
He is the scum beneath the bubble gum I step on the street. He is such an embarrassment. Ugh.
Well, I got to say, all those EFF guys, I'm just like, what do you guys really stand for? Because you tell us one thing, but you do another. I'm going to judge you by your behavior again. I'm not going to judge you by what you say, because what you say is worthless. All of them. Julius Floyd, Buyiseni, Dalim Pofu, they all, these are the guys who were telling us 2-3 years ago, Jacob Zuma is the most evil person that ever lived, right? They were saying to us, Zuma must pay back the money. You remember all that shit?
Mm.
He must be held responsible. He says, don't care. Dalim Pofu said, who cares about Jacob Zuma's dignity? This man hasn't respected the dignity of South Africans. This is what he said just a couple of years ago. Now he's defending him in court. You don't think people are getting mixed messages, dude? You don't think people are starting to go, wait a second, I think I know what's happening here. The politicians are fucking with us. Ha! I think I've figured it out. The EFF doesn't stand for anything except themselves. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Cameron
Zuma looted the country. What about VBS? We're not taking questions on that one, right?
no, we're not taking questions
We're
on
not
that.
taking.
Terence Cameron says Duduzile Zuma also needs to be banned from Twitter. Yeah, apparently some of the things she's been saying have been not very helpful. Is that right?
Yeah.
What is this?
African people, thank you so much for standing up for our father, Jacob Zuma. We love you so much.
God.
Oh my God! It looks like it. What was that?
Before we get into it, I was honestly expecting Duduzane Zuma's English. Like I was expecting something posh. I was expecting, and then I heard that and I was like,
wow,
wow. Are those his children?
Yes, those are his daughters. They're pretty, but
they are pretty, but they look like they look like the kind of people who are on TikTok 24/7, and you don't really have to take them serious.
South African people, thank you so much for standing up for our father, Jacob Zuma. We love you so much.
Jacob Zuma. Thank you for standing for Jacob Zuma.
Don't those girls look like
bottle service girls?
Yes,
at the club. They look like bottle service girls. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Simpiwe's got the whole mood right. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, and then the bottles.
Yeah. Hi guys. You want with sparklers in them? Yeah. Jeez, so embarrassing. And they're holding up a free Jacob Zuma thing, and they I mean, if you want your father to be freed from prison, you can't look like you're happy and enjoying yourself in the meantime. It kind of negates the whole purpose of you putting out a video. They should be solemn. They should be sitting there going, "Our father's in jail, guys. Please, help us get him free." They're like, our father's in jail, everybody. Can you help us get our father out? Stupid bimbos.
Yeah, like where's the PR management? Get some masks on, like you say. You should be draped in traditional wear. You should be appealing to the masses of the country. And a hero was lost. He fought for this country. He raised us. Fought. Our mother without him is nothing. The community, you can see that people have no leader. Now you look like you're out here about to go to Taboo. How are we going to empathize with that? Most of us can't even afford bread now.
They probably filmed that at some club.
No, they're at their houses living their soft life, The one thing I noticed about the one on the far left, I think she even struggled to do the Amandla, thing. She was just like,
She's doing the Amandla thing really more to show off her latest manicure than anything else.
That was just, what a joke, my darling, what a joke.
What a bunch of idiots. Seriously, what a bunch of idiots. Okay, we got some other things to talk about this morning, and there are lots of things that we will get to, and if you've got, comments and questions, we want to hear from you. I would like to know if you've got, some concerns, if you've got some stories, some eyewitness accounts, if you have yourself been involved in some of the craziness of the last 2 days. And I say the word craziness without trying to be flippant. It just, it spans a huge range of things. You could have actually been the victim of real violence, which I hope hasn't happened to you. You could also be someone who's been unaffected in terms of your actual existence, but you're concerned as all hell about that. And, we talk about mental health on the show we did yesterday. And this kind of thing does affect some people's mental health very, very badly. So you want to talk about it, you let us know. Anyway, so here's some other news that's going on. It's amazing. People prioritize, even these looters, they've got their phones and they're filming things, and filming things is what dumb people do all the time now. They're just filming things the whole fucking time. That's, they're content creators, supposedly. Content creators like Zuma's children there that you just saw. In India, a lightning strike killed 16 people who were taking selfies. Exactly. So how did this happen? Because you actually saw the story. You told me about it.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So there were a number of people died. I believe it was 41 reported at the time I was reading, but those 16 were killed, it seems like, in and around the same time. But what are we doing in a thunderstorm in 2021?
Taking
We've got
selfies.
taking
the
selfies.
lighting is like it's
It's
golden
so
hour
great.
light.
Yeah.
The lighting is so great.
And
Like,
you're never going to see it again, like in my lifetime. And I need to, if you don't record it, it never happened. Like it never, ever happened. You need to get it on camera. You really do. You can't tell your friend that you saw the lightning. No. Friend, I need to show you that I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
I guess, but this is a case of you get what you deserve. I'm sorry. R.I.P. I don't know what people say. What do you say to someone who died taking a selfie? What's the eulogy going to be like? People don't think, it's all about them. What does your mother say as a eulogy now when you died taking a selfie? Everyone knows.
That's really embarrassing. That's like that's like you caught masturbating and giving yourself, what is that thing called, that those
autoerotic, erotic, it's good stuff.
It's embarrassing.
It is.
It's embarrassing to die with a selfie as your priority. Really
unbelievable.
That is pretty insane. All right, so Simpiwe, a fun fact: she's been running 100 kilometers a month. Now this is pretty amazing stuff. I want to give Mbulelo some credit here for being inspiring himself. But you've been running 100 Ks a month.
So I used to run. I took a bit of a break, and I joined like this running challenge group, and they were doing 100 kilometers a month. And initially I was like, oh, never, not me. I can never do it. And then the one chick was like, if you run 3 kilometers every day, you can actually reach the goal.
Oof.
And
even 3 kilometers a day, I'd die. I said so yesterday.
It's not easy. Sleep up in place. Mbulelo, shout out to you. But I did do it. I did manage to complete it because that was the goal. And I think I want to redo it again in August. Run 100K in the month and 3 kilometers every day.
That's awesome. That is awesome. It's about getting active.
That's so great. Well done.
That is
right,
awesome.
Starting is the hardest, right? Starting is the most difficult thing.
Get active. For me, sometimes if like when it gets to my part of the world, the egomaniacs, you get into the really mental stuff. But the reality is, at the core, just get active. For me, walking on a bicycle, get active. Get active per day for an hour. That's all it's about. That's what's important. So, hey, kudos. That's awesome, Simpiwe. That's really, I love that. I love stories like that.
Thank you.
Here's a nice message from Willem, who says, fun show, guys. Long last returning fan. Okay, good. Nice to have you back. Good stuff. You're always welcome here. Thank you very much, Willem. Okay, I got a couple of emails that we'll get to just now. There's also some other news. I saw yesterday, they were interviewing some professor about this violence. And I'm like, really? The one kind of person we don't need to hear about all of this is a professor. They are the least out of touch people. They're the most out of touch people. I think about that for a second. They're the most out of touch people of all of us. Professors in universities. We need their opinion on how violence starts. These are exactly the people who create excuses for people they'd never come into contact with, right? The academics can absolutely be left out of any kind of analysis of this situation. So I don't think we need to talk to professors, if you don't mind my saying. The people we need to talk to are these people they're interviewing in the communities who are like there with their guns, chasing down these crooks and thieves and criminals. Those are the people I want to hear from in the news. And I got to admit, like, there's some part of me that really likes the idea that South Africa still has this backbone, because during lockdown, we all fell down like sheep and we just took every instruction that we were given and everybody just complied, right? And I thought, this is a soft society that don't deserve their freedoms, because you have to keep fighting for freedom. Seems to me some of these people will fight for their property and their family, and in so doing fight for their freedom as well. So you know what? I read that one wrong. There's where I definitely need to admit I didn't get it 100% right. I'm
well
impressed.
said. Well, this morning I was talking to the security guard at the change of shift at my complex, and first of all, he's a cretin because he supports Kaizer Chiefs. But anyway, that's a different story. But he was telling me, like, when I was saying, yeah, guys, what about the violence? Because he lives in Alex, and he said, no, Chief, I have to come to work. Or like, he thought I was crazy. He looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, no, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be a morning shift tomorrow. We'll keep talking about the football. He's like, I have to come to work, Chief. Tell me about that. Like, I was like, yeah, no, I need to get over myself as well. Like, why am I thinking for him just because he's poor? I need to impose. No, he's like, no, I need to come to work. Yes, they're looting. Yes, they went to Boxer yesterday. I need to be at work.
You know,
Good job.
Yeah, no, he wasn't even, not even flinching. I need to be at work tomorrow.
That's such a wake-up call to all of us, because everybody who thinks only of themselves thinks they have more to worry about than everybody else, right? And you hear from a guy like that, and he's like, no, he's got shit to do. He's got places to go. He's got a salary to earn. You know, and to even come up with an attitude that you think he should have and put it into his head before you've even spoken to him. And all of us are guilty of doing this at least once or twice a day, right? Every day. We've got to stop that shit because it's so unnecessary. The next person who presumes to speak on behalf of the poor, or the next person who presumes to speak on behalf of people who are disadvantaged, I'm just gonna walk away when they start talking. Who are these people?
No,
anyway,
you're right.
Bev Williams brings up someone who I think needs to be noted at this point. Any word from Gun Free SA? I thought not. Yeah. And, of course, guys, Gun Free SA, if you're in one of those neighborhoods in Durban which had to put up with violence, looting, stun grenades, bullets being fired yesterday, if you're in KZN or in some parts of Gauteng which have been hit really hard by all of this, I'm sure you were thinking, it would be fine if just gun-free South Africa would pitch up. Those are the guys we really need to come and save our souls. Said no one ever. You know.
Yeah.
Gareth, what do you think of the vigilantes punishing the court criminals? Well, you see, this is where it gets a bit messy, because obviously, according to the law, you cannot. They are vigilantes. You've named them right. You can't go and beat someone up. Technically, you should have them arrested. You could perform an arrest and you should hand them over to the authorities. Of course, the authorities is a joke. So you may feel you want to take out your own form of kangaroo court justice on these people, but you've got to, if you're a civilized person, you also have to abide by the rules. The reason you're angry with those people is because they don't follow the rules. They don't obey the law. Now, you can't go and very well break the law. Otherwise, you lose your moral superiority over them. And you lose the right to be the law enforcer, because suddenly you become lawless yourself, right? So I think, but that's all easy to say in theory.
Yeah.
In practice, you may be so angry, and many South Africans are so angry. And if you had your shop burnt down last night, or you had your family threatened, or you watched your neighborhood go up in flames, you might be cross enough to take out a little bit of your own vigilante justice on these people. And God knows that hasn't happened before in South Africa, right? I mean, it's happened a lot. The ultimate problem is people don't think, says Sophia. Well, yeah. I mean, yes. Dogozo says, I'm definitely investing in a Shambok after this.
You old school. You old school. Oh, that just brought back memories. Yo.
Remember
Shambok.
Shambok, or you need a Nopkiri.
Guys, you old school. You see there, you're old school. I will not mess with you. I have the utmost respect for people that carry Shambok. Like, guys, that thing. See, and how they
Dogozo sounds like my kind of guy.
Yeah,
sounds like my kind of guy.
So does Errol. Errol says, I was with the community defending the bluff in Durban last night. It was too cold for me to feel nervous.
Now, Errol, a lot of people might say the community needs to be defended from the bluff, but you know.
Yeah, listen. If I were a opportunist criminal, I don't know that I'd want to find myself in among the angry people of the bluff after a night of violence and stupidity.
Rough, tough, and from the bluff, they say.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I jest, Errol. I jest.
So it is going to be very cold today, just quickly, because we never really do the weather. But the only reason I remark on this is because this is supposed to be the coldest week of the year so far, right? They say that the temperatures could drop to the minuses over the next day or two. In fact, this morning, it's meant to be about 2 or 3 degrees where I am, and tomorrow they predict it will be 0 degrees at a minimum. So, you know what? We've got this amazing convergence of things. We've got really, really cold weather, which of course doesn't exactly slow down the coronavirus or flu in general or any other kind of illness. You know, people get pneumonia, people get bronchitis, they get all kinds of respiratory diseases when it's cold like this, because the cold is precisely the vector that you need for this to happen. Temperature has a huge role to play. So we got really, really cold weather. We've got the third wave of a coronavirus pandemic, which seems to be hitting very, very hard. And as Leanne said yesterday, we're over the worst of it. But of course, watch what happens now, because people are out rioting and looting and doing stupid things. You're going to see a spike again, right? Obviously. Because the coronavirus doesn't care if you're looting or if you're protesting for Jacob Zuma or if you're just sitting at home being a good person. And then to make matters worse, we've got lots of people who are just looking for any excuse to behave stupidly and badly. So those people will use either of the above. So let's see what happens. It's going to be very interesting. It's snowing in series, apparently, according to Oxy Head. And Shani says it's -5 in Bloemfontein today. Oof, we spoke about that the other day in Bulelo. That is a different kind of cold. Oh.
And you know, there's a 6-year-old frickie right now playing outside, Golfoot, no shirt, Golfoot. Those
Shorts even.
those Afrikaans boys from Bloem. Don't mess with those nuts, because he's outside playing. He's playing with his toy train in shorts, in kortbroek, Golfoot, and no shirt. And there's a frickie preparing to go to Grey Bloem right now outside. He's being bred. Tough guys, those. Tough.
They really are.
Yeah. No, they're different.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. Yeah, I'm also interested that there are still people going around saying, "Oh, the lockdowns are such a good idea. Lockdowns are so great." And Cyril told us on Sunday before he addressed us last night. It seems like we're talking to the president more than some of us speak to our own families. He told us, "No, we got to keep locking down." But he's opened up restaurants and gyms. So it's like he's, he giveth, the Lord giveth with one hand and he taketh away with the other. Can we just admit that these lockdowns haven't worked? There's still people going around saying, no, they've been hugely successful. Yeah, because when we locked down, it didn't make any goddamn difference. The highest spike was still in December last year, as I understand it. 64,000 people at the upper end have died because of coronavirus. But it was already at 50-something thousand in January. So we've only added, I know this is insensitive because someone might have lost, family, and I get that. But let's just be very, very cold and rational about this for a second. Since January, we've only lost another 10,000 people to coronavirus. Now, I know that those people were fathers, aunts, uncles, daughters, sisters, whoever they may be. I'm not by any means negating your own sense of loss. I feel for you on an individual level, but the numbers are not really about that at all. Your feelings play very little part in that. We've got to look at this like, an alien would, for example. Say, how bad is this problem these humans are dealing with? Well, even with all of the hype around this third wave, and even with everybody knowing someone who's died or someone who's been hospitalized, and we all do. And in fact, at Cliff Central, everybody got corona except me and Spike and Rena and Sia, right? You all got it in the third wave. And all of you survived, thank God. I would have been, much more reticent to even talk about it if something else had happened. But the fact is, you got to look at the numbers. So I saw them last night on TV because I haven't looked at the numbers for months. And they're only up 10,000 from where we were in January. Can we all just be sensible, please?
So where are we now? 66,000 is the last death toll. I
said 63 or 64,000. Okay. I don't know what the exact number is right now, but I mean, I'll look it up. It's in the low 60s to mid 60s. Thousands.
Which is what, 0.01% of our population, or 0.1.
Thank you very much. Yeah, right. Do a little division sum there and divide the total population by the number of people who have died of coronavirus, and you'll see how really devastating this thing has been. Of course, you could say, oh, there are people who are sick. Yes, but people get sick from all kinds of things, and we don't shut down the country. Let's just admit, here we are again, doing this for the umpteenth time. Can we just admit that lockdowns haven't helped? Countries that did very strict lockdowns didn't do any better than countries that didn't.
And you know what? When we do put it like this, I don't think it makes you anti-lockdown or try and be a rebel. When
Makes
you
me
look at
anti-lockdown.
No. But I don't think it makes you anti-lockdown when you look at it, the numbers like this. What it makes us do is focus where we should be focusing correctly, because what it was for was to give hospitals capacity at first. Okay, so that was a lie. We know that.
Remember,
that they
2
messed
weeks
that up.
to flatten the curve, they told us in March last year. Remember that shit?
Yeah, I mean, but now the interesting part is now it was about, okay, we need to prepare for the vaccine rollout. Okay, actually, all the time, what's the common denominator? Our government's incompetent. It's not us, because you know how we all were blaming each other at a stage? It's not us, because we were supposed to get vaccines, not a cure. We were supposed to lock down for a little bit. This time around, the vaccine rollout is going to be magnificent. And hopefully what that would do is bring the death numbers down, because we're still going to get COVID, by the way, at the same rate we would have gotten it, lockdown or not. We're still going to get it. What we want to bring is the severity down with vaccines. That was a lie. You stole that money as well. So now let's all focus on what's the problem? The government, guys. It's not us, the citizens. Because all the time we were blaming one another and they were blaming us, right? Every family meeting.
Guess who's also to blame for all this violence that we're seeing at the moment? Guess who's put those people into the positions that they're in, that they think it's okay to steal and loot and burn shit down? And guess who put them in a position where they're unemployed in the first place, so they have nothing to do? Is it good, law-abiding South Africans who are trying to run their businesses, trying to earn a salary, trying to get to work like your security guard at your complex in Bulelo? No, you can't blame the people, like Cyril tried to do with us 3 times. I think he's done it now. It's your fault that we're making these lockdowns because you can't stick to the rules. You're drinking on weekends, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. It's you, government. Yeah. So Kala says quite rightly, wave 3 peak was reached forecast 2 weeks ago. No difference made by the lockdown. Correct. See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God. And that doesn't make Kala, like also, you know, Kala's not anti-lockdown. We need to, at some stage, have some reason, please. We can't always be in our feels, as the young kids are saying. You're not allowed to stay in your emotions. We're all emotional creatures, but we can't stay there if we want to move forward. And Kala, we need people like Kala. Let's just tell the truth at a stage. And we need some brutality, and let's move on.
And here's Gareth with another good point. And I've seen this number bandied about before, so I know it's not just him who's saying it. 58,000 people died from TB in South Africa back in 2019. Before we knew about coronavirus, we didn't shut the whole country down for that. That's just about as many people have died as have died of coronavirus, right? We didn't shut down everything.
Yeah.
It's not 2 years. It's not 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It's 5 years to break people's spirits, says Corona's boring. Yeah. Yeah.
You're on the money.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Please.
That is good stuff.
And speaking of good stuff actually says someone called good stuff. Good stuff. When Cyril speaks about the vaccines, it's like he's trying to sell them to the population, like a YouTuber who's doing ads. Some company in the background is telling him what to say. Well, that's conspiracy theory shit, but yes, absolutely. Anyway, Pancho is in Yorkshire in England and says in hospitals in Yorkshire at the moment, the most ill people have had 2 injections. I've heard this thing that people are like going for double doses of the vaccine or something. You know, again, that's not how it works, guys.
It really isn't. That's embarrassing. And by the way, Yorkshire, it's like those great university.
When they have was it great university, did you say?
Yeah. I mean, hey, Leeds is a big varsity town.
Okay. I'll pretend you didn't even say that because Yorkshire, they even went to school.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Um, the whole thing with these vaccines and these people who are like obsessed with the vaccine too, they're like it's it's their personal Jesus. Like Leanne has her sleeping Jesus, and other people have different kinds of Jesuses. So the people who think if they just get another dose of the vaccine, that'll make them even more immune.
They do.
That's like those people who, when they have a headache, they don't just take one headache tablet; they take like 5. Because it's going to be too bad. I need 5 of them.
Ugh.
Kind of people, and then they wonder why they just pass the hell out.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens. Everybody, keep calm. Keep calm. We have a country to get going today. There is stuff to do. There are people to see. There are places to go. And Bulelo's the only one who's actually going to places this morning because our whole staff. I mean, Simply was at home. You're at home, right?
Yes, I am. I will say it was a pleasant surprise waking up like an hour later,
I'm sure.
Just an hour. Just, that one extra hour was really, really nice. But, we got big jobs and still got to work, eh?
Yeah, there are podcasts to do. There are people to talk to. I know that the whole team is working today, and we've got all our meetings from various places. So it's all still happening. Apparently, they burnt a mosque in KZN. Imagine what would happen if that happened in Cape Town. That's according to Jesse. Well, Jesus, you really want to upset people. Set fire to their temples, churches, and mosques.
No, it's Allah this time. You went with Jesus there.
Sorry,
Allah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what. Eugene wants to know, Gareth, are you going to pre-register for the vaccine? No, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't think I need it. I think I've probably had coronavirus already, even though I did that test a little while ago and it said that I hadn't. I think I got it last year, and I think I mostly have the antibodies, the prerequisite antibodies that I need. Anyway, even if I do get it, I'm not so worried. So no, I'm not going to get it. If I need to travel and I need to get the vaccine in order to travel, sure, I'll get it. I'm not like the most motivated to do it. It's not something that I really even want to talk about too much because, frankly, it's nobody's business. You decide if you want to get it and you decide if you don't. I had the same attitude with my parents and they ended up going to get it. I said to them, if you want to, do it. Anyway, according to Paul, I love this. Now, everybody's an immunologist and a vaccinologist and an expert in infectious diseases. So Paul says the Pfizer shot's so crap, they're making a booster shot already. They're trying to get FDA approval for it at the moment. Well, I believe that is actually true. PCR tests are useless and over 90% false positive. Here we go again. Everybody's got an opinion. Thanks, Pancho. What else are you going to do? You're not going to do the test then? I mean, what should I have done? Just ignored it? Felt sick. I did it for my peace of mind and so that I knew I wouldn't be passing it on to anyone else. If I still had it after all that and there was that 90%, there's 10% chance that I was wrong, tough. I've done what I could, right? Dude 69 says, ever since my girlfriend had the vaccine a few weeks ago, she's been sick with headaches and coughing up a storm. I suppose that's what coughing, they said cording here. Oh, and she hates me for not taking the vaccine. Well, that looks like the end of us.
Doesn't look like your girlfriend's having a great time, so I don't know why.
It doesn't.
It
really doesn't.
Well, what it'll do is expose the cracks in the relationship. When people are sick, you really see who they are, or like when they're going through a tough time. So, yeah, shout out to Dude 69 and the end of his relationship. Awkward time to have to move out, though, I would say.
Yeah, imagine you move out, and then as you're moving your stuff out, the rioters come down your street and take
and then take your sofas.
They steal your car with everything in it. All your things.
Although the way they're looting now, like imagine they loot your 42-inch screen and they just bring it back, say, "Aye, man,
it doesn't work. It's fake.
No, I need 70.
Well,
I take this crap back."
I've had the same TV since I moved into this house. Right, I bought it when I moved in here. That's what 11 years ago or something. So it's not a bad TV. It does the job, but it's nothing fancy. Like you can get better TVs than that for half the price that I bought that one at. And it's outdated now. It doesn't have all the, it's not a smart TV. It's like
then they're returning it, Gareth.
Yeah.
Like an IQ 70 TV. It's
No,
not a smart.
they're going to. I don't know if you've ever seen Criminals in Joburg when they like pickpocket your phone, and then if you don't have like a really good like smartphone, they actually give it back to you and they like throw it back. And they're like, upgrade your phone, like awesome, get a better phone, like yes. So in your case with the TV, I think they'll return it and be like, get an upgrade.
God, that is so ridiculous. All right, listen, we got to stop here. It's already 7:00, believe it or not. It's 7:02. So we've got to get on with it. We've got more things to do. Toya DeLazy will be joining us a little bit later on the show, and we'd like to hear from you. 0797482090. You can also comment directly on YouTube. Send us an email if you want to, whichever you prefer. And it's Gareth at cliffcentral.com. Very easy. Talk to us. Tell us what's up. And tell us if you are managing amid all this chaos and craziness that's going on around us. And if you need inspiration, just look to the Zuma girl.
South African people, thank you so much for standing up for our father, Jacob Zuma. We love you so much.
Hey, girls. Hey.
Okay, thanks so
Jacob
much.
Zuma. Okay.
This week on Auto Central.
Last question comes from Megan, who's asked, I wanted to ask what the AMG line is in a normal Mercedes. So this would be almost like an A200 with the AMG badging.
Well, Megan, first off, we were talking about the 333i Alpina earlier on, which was the pre-shadow line kind of body styling, etc. And then Mercedes-Benz got into the AMG body styling. So AMG simply denotes a cosmetic upgrade. It doesn't have any engine upgrades. Catch Auto Central, SA's #1 motoring podcast, every Monday at 9 a.m.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. cliffcentral.com on a Tuesday morning. It is the 13th of July, and there's chaos and confusion all over the country, but we'll hopefully try and bring some sense and some sensibility to your life this morning. There are lots of people with interesting points of view on all the looting and rioting that's been happening, particularly in KZN and in Gauteng. There are all those funny memes, too, of like Cape Townians looking at the rest of the country, like, down their noses.
Cape Town is its own country. It's its own world. It doesn't relate to the problems of South Africa. It's just like, look at them, those people. Oh my gosh, what are they doing?
They look down on us. We should let them be their own country. I think Cape Town runs better than the rest of the country, and they should be allowed to be separate from us. They shouldn't be held back by the savage people of Gauteng and the Free State and the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. And mind you, I should say that at this point, the two most badly behaved provinces are Gauteng and KZN. Right.
Yeah.
The rest, it's not fair of me to draw the Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, Northwest, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga, Free State into that. It's not their fault. They haven't done anything wrong. Let's not blame them. Although it may spread, who knows? I hope it doesn't, obviously.
The problem for the Cape Townians is who would do the work. Like the wealthy ones would be fine in like the winelands and
Sure.
sort of Sea Point, but most people are like me,
Well,
we're working every day, and the Cape
you
Townians
just
do love a
make
surf
sure
in the morning.
Make sure you're in before they close the gates. That's all. All right. I got an email from Steph, and this is an interesting discussion that we haven't had yet on the show. Steph says, I'm catching up on a podcast from the other day. You guys were discussing ways to live in South Africa that bypass the idiots in the government. Remember, we were talking about how you should become self-sufficient, right? Most of us know how to do this in terms of electricity and water, and this is becoming easier and more affordable to do. However, something that really worries me is education. We have one child, although he's a long way from being school age. As it stands, we would not be able to afford the private schools in our area, but we're very quickly losing faith in government's education system. I'm sure that there are many other people in the same situation. What is the solution? No sane parent wants to homeschool their own child, but maybe cottage schools are the way forward. And she puts that in inverted commas, cottage schools. Small groups of kids being taught by retired teachers who are looking for extra income. And perhaps the Cambridge curriculum, which they could use, and some prestigious private schools in South Africa use it, thereby giving our children an opportunity to pursue tertiary education anywhere in the world. I feel there is a gap in the market for this, and I'm sincerely hoping that some clever people do something about it so that we can educate our children in an affordable way that does not rely on the ignoramus tools in the Department of Education. If you guys could help us find who the others are who are thinking like this, then we could have a platform on your show, and that would be amazing. Thanks for the incredible show. Never miss a day. Peace and love, Steph. Okay. So education, obviously, is a huge priority. It's one of the main concerns of any parent. It's not just of any parent, but even people who are in their late teens and are thinking about where they want to study, if they want to study. They're thinking about what kind of job they want to do one day. Education is massively important. Nelson Mandela said that education is the most important ingredient to being free, and I think that's right. But the quality of that education has come into question, and I don't believe that Angie Mochecha and her people are necessarily giving us the best options. I don't think that there are a lot of young people in this country who are growing up with the requisite tools in terms of literacy, numeracy, the basic skills that you need to get through the day. I don't think we're equipping our kids properly. I think that's what Steph's saying too, so there's no argument between us. Her idea of the cottage schools is an interesting one, and I like it. I like it because, again, it's people looking to themselves rather than looking to someone else to solve their problems. I think that there is going to be an element of homeschooling that's going to stay now, because whether parents like it or not, I'm afraid, this coronavirus has shown up just how disconnected so many parents are from their kids and how many kids are disconnected from the education system. So I think it's a bit of a wake-up call in some ways, right? Maybe this is where we find those retired teachers. We find those people who have a love for education, and we allow them to do their thing from anywhere. If you're a language lecturer and you're lecturing people in isiZulu or in English or in Afrikaans or in French or whatever it might be, you could do that from anywhere. It's obviously up to the kid then to concentrate on the other side of that. But, like with podcasting, I've always called this show like my own university. And I invite people onto the show who I think will teach all of us things. It feels like a bit of a university. We can do that for kids. We could have shows that kids listen to give themselves an idea of how the world works, a general education, and then we have particularly talented people and passionate people teach them in each subject. And the parents can even select what they want their kids to learn. If you want your kids to pay attention only to the sciences, to mathematics, to the really important things, to literacy, numeracy, the ability to calculate very basic things, the ability to figure out your way in the world, and maybe a couple of practical subjects thrown in there too, then as a parent, that sounds like a really good option. If you could go in and select, almost like tick the boxes of what you wanted your kid to learn, that's much more sensible and seems more responsible than just handing your kid over to the state for a whole, 6 hours every day. doesn't it?
This is something that I deeply care about. Education is something that's, as I'm getting older, and I'm becoming more grateful for what I was able to be given. And
I
for
know
me,
that
I think
about you. That's why I brought this up.
no, but I mean, hey, it is what it is, and I do deeply care about it because, man, it's tough to not sound like I normally sound, but when you do encounter people who haven't come from an academic background and in the working space, it becomes very evident, and there's a foundational gap. And I'm sorry, let that sound how it sounds. I'm on the opposite side of you here, and so number one, those cottage style schools are happening. One of our colleagues here at work, her daughter has just moved to one of these types of schools where a global syllabus is available. But
Right.
I'm anti that, and maybe because of my bias. Number one, from a philosophical sense, Socrates, when he started what we now know as boarding schools, was you're actually supposed to take the child away from the corrupt society, and you take them away so that you can educate them holistically. You don't just educate a child with education like mathematics and whatever. So I'm big on institutions are still important. I don't think we can just leave it to us as individuals. I don't think that's a good way, because children need to develop. We know this now holistically. And because I come from a strong institution, I'm biased. But we need to fight for our institutions to become stronger, because I don't think as individuals we're actually quite good. We're very good at organizing.
I think in this country that's not an option that's available to most people in Bulelo. You're making it about you. It's not about you.
Well, I mean, look, institutions need to be strong, because ultimately what's going to happen is, I know it sounds ideal to send...
failed so many of us. I understand people looking to themselves rather. That's like you saying to me, well, even though Eskom isn't really good at providing electricity, let's just keep giving them a chance until they are. You know what I mean?
Sure. But I walk into Investec today where parents would want their kids to work, and I recognize every single child in there. 90% of them went to schools like me. So it tells you that you need that. Like, okay. Unfortunately, you just need that.
I don't want to have a huge argument about this, because Steph is looking for answers, and you and I could talk about this all day. We do care about it way more than we probably should.
Sure.
You said the other day it's important to teach people how to think, not what to think, right?
Sure.
I don't know that institutions can do that. I think that only comes from your parents, the people you spend time with, a natural curiosity, and the abundance of information that's given to us on the internet now. I don't think we need, huge institutions. I don't think we need massive school and university infrastructure everywhere anymore. If we've learned anything in the last year, it's that we don't need those things.
Look, I don't see Oxford and Eton and these schools going anywhere, and they will continue to run your lives. Unfortunately, I am biased to that. You need strong institutions, but again, okay, I'm not a parent. I'm very biased.
What do you say, Simpiwe?
So my question is, I do understand the importance of education and having a good educational system, but how are the kids being taught this information? I think is also something we need to take into consideration, because English is not necessarily always it's not the most spoken language in South Africa. So how are people receiving this information makes a big deal as well, because if you are Zulu and that's how you think, and that's the community you were brought up with, now coming into the working world where everyone speaks English, it doesn't matter how educated you are, you're going to have a barrier to entry because you can't communicate the language. So that's also, I think, something that needs to be taken into consideration.
There will be that barrier, but you can learn the language at an early age. I mean, there are lots of people who do, and then they become very proficient. So I think that's almost an argument against your position, just thinking about it.
No, I'm saying, but when you're going to school, there's this whole thing of we should be learning an African language. So instead of Afrikaans, people should be learning isiZulu, Xhosa, their native language. So it's to say that there's people in communities, they've never spoken English. And if you've learned, everything that you know, and now you have to be taken into a different world, university.
The problem is, Simpiwe, they're never going to hire you at CERN in Switzerland, at the Large Hadron Collider, if you only speak isiZulu. In fact, they're not even going to hire you if you only speak Swiss. that you're going to
Yeah.
have to learn English somewhere along the way. You're going to have to. So, like, this is also, there's a reality. You know, I often get into arguments with like Afrikaans friends of mine who say, no, they only need to speak Afrikaans. I'm like, no, you really, like, I know English is not the easiest language to learn, but you've got to, if you want to be in the real world, you have to either speak that or Mandarin or maybe Spanish. But those are the only three that you could really take seriously as international languages. Sorry, that's just how it is. It's not very fair, but that's what it is.
I think what Simpiwe is saying as well is you need to actually start learning it properly at an early age, because language is idiosyncratic.
Right then. No, then I don't have any argument with you. You're 100% correct. But also numbers, you know, like numbers, we are terrible at numbers in this country. I mean, we joke on this show about how bad we are at numbers. But the reality is that South Africa, according to the most available, most up-to-date information that we can get, on this continent alone, South Africa has the least numerate, least literate people. Okay, our country. We're not the worst country in Africa. There are countries like the Gambia and Liberia and Burkina Faso, and at the moment, like Somalia, Djibouti, these places that don't even have like a formal education system, and they somehow outperform us. How is that possible? It's how we're doing it, and we're doing it wrong, clearly. So to go back to Steph's email, I don't know the answer. Maybe some people who are listening to us do. Count the number of waking hours your kids spend with you versus at school. Now you know who's raising them. That's an interesting point. That's a really interesting point. Courtney makes the point that educated people are leaving and plan to continue doing that. That's also, we're losing really smart people. So we're left with a whole lot of, you know, kind of middle to lower qualifications in the marketplace. Instead of using retired teachers, says Inga, why not take young teachers that aren't able to get work? Staff rotation in schools is extremely slow. There are young teachers who cannot find work. I agree. Use them. Bridget says, I have a friend who runs a homeschooling school called Akasha in Kensington and Johannesburg, and they do Cambridge, and it's from nursery school to matric. That's interesting. That's people solving problems, you know. And I don't think, God bless her, but I don't think Angie is ever going to solve these problems for us. Gareth says, technology and the world changes and evolves so fast, but education and style hasn't changed in many decades. That's absolutely true.
Well said.
To work abroad and get a visa, you have to do an English test called the EILTS. That's to make sure that you can understand basic English. Yeah. And obviously, if you go to a place like China or you go to a place like Spain, you'll have to learn to speak their language. That's just how it works. Anyway, I mean, I don't know the answer, guys, but I think that Steph's question is really good. And if I were a parent right now, I don't know that I'd do what Mbulelo is suggesting and trust the institutions. I think I'd start looking for solutions myself, even if it is, you know, finding someone in the neighborhood who's a vet, and that person can teach them biology or anatomy. You find someone in the neighborhood who is a writer, and that person can teach them literature and poetry and all that kind of thing. That's what I'd like.
You know, I'd like to go with you, but people aren't good at organizing themselves. Like, show me people are not good at organizing themselves. So, unfortunately, for now, look, it's because I'm biased, and I'm seeing more and more, even people in the hood and my cousins and things like that, telling me in the Eastern Cape that communities are organizing their own private schools now. Just so people know that I'm not saying something that's crazy. Is that there are people who come from, I'm talking rural. My family's rural, not like Soweto. They're organizing private schools now where children, if you're not certain maths, English, they don't let you in. They don't care. You can go to the sort of old school schools. They're starting private schools now. So I'm not talking about something which I think is crazy. And perhaps if you live somewhere that isn't the suburbs, maybe there's something like that there. And again, that leads to that institution.
I reckon, again, if people are desperate enough, they do organize themselves. I mean, look at what you've got in these neighborhoods in Durban at the moment. You have people who suddenly they've got a neighborhood watch. Suddenly there are a whole lot of people with guns who are like protecting their own families. Like, it's amazing how if things get bad enough, people do resort to organizing themselves, to putting systems in place. And sometimes those systems show you just how bad the systems that you thought worked before were. Anyway, let's leave it alone. There are also some other things that I wanted to talk about this morning. And we've got Toy the Lazy joining us in a short while. But first, this is interesting. The ANC, according to Pule Mabe, cannot be blamed for the criminal acts that are being committed in Jacob Zuma's name. Okay, so as long as you don't blame the ANC, everything's fine.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
he's-
Ah, cool.
Yeah, he doesn't mind if you're angry or if you your shop is burnt down or someone torches your car or you get hurt in a riot. But as long as you don't blame the ANC, Pule Mabe says that's absolutely fine. They shouldn't be held responsible for stealing, damage to infrastructure that's being carried out in the name of Jacob Zuma. A number of malls and shops were looted, vandalized, some even burnt down by individuals claiming to be protesting in the name of the former president. These are not ANC members. No. You can't say that, Pule, because you don't know that. Do you have facial recognition cameras on every rioter that you know for a fact they're not card-carrying members of the ANC? These people seem to be pretty damn passionate about two things: stealing and Jacob Zuma, at least according to a vast majority of them, those two things, right? The stealing we can see, the Jacob Zuma is the excuse. So some of them might not really be Jacob Zuma supporters, but they're in on this. Chances are that's exactly how the ANC works. Most of them are really into stealing. They're not that much into the ANC, Pule.
No,
I just
the
want to
ANC
point-
doesn't work, Gareth. Sorry, the ANC doesn't work. So
No,
don't even. I know what you meant, but the ANC doesn't work.
That's true.
Please.
So he says, we must be careful. We must not make the ANC to be part of something. That's what he says, that it's not involved in.
Okay.
When you loot a shop, he says, that's a criminal activity. It has nothing to do with the ANC. A crime is a crime.
It's crime. I live at my house and I'm affected by crime. I just won't have it.
Pule, it's just funny to me that most of the, and Simpiwe said this earlier, I'm just going to go back to your words of wisdom. Simpiwe said, the real looting has already happened, that 500 billion. Now, who took that, Pule? Was those weren't
No, it
ANC
wasn't the ANC. No, Chief.
criminals? No, criminals, no. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to get my ducks in a row here. Sorry, everybody. It took me a while to click to get as
Criminals
advanced.
stole the money, not ANC. That is what they are saying. They never cease to amaze me. They always have the same statement when you ask them, so why did you steal the money? No, you see what happened in 1978 caused us to be in this predicament, fellow comrade. In fact, it is because of our people that this has happened. Okay, sharp. The looting's happening. No. It is not us. Do not involve us
Nelson
in
Mandela.
this matter.
And you must always, Nelson Mandela built this country in order for us as a rainbow nation, as a people, white being
for everyone.
together now. Yeah.
So much of that shit just rings so hollow now. We had to get to this point. We had to get to this point, though, didn't we? All right, I'm very excited. We'll speak to Toy the Lazy in just a minute or two. I'm excited to see her again, and it's been a while since we had her in the studio, since we had her on the show, and there's never any reason that we should wait this long to see her lovely face again. But we'll get to her in a second. I just want to quickly share this story with you. Apparently, a sealed copy of a Super Mario 64 video game, amazing, has sold at an auction for more than $1.5 million. So if you have the original video game, Super Mario 64, and it's sealed, in other words, never been opened. In 1996, they made this. All right. It was a launch title for the Nintendo 64 console. It was one of the most influential early 3D platformers. The auction house said there were fewer than 5 copies in this kind of condition. Apparently, an original Legend of Zelda cartridge, which had sold 2 days before, sold for just $870,000. But this one sold for $1.5 million. Amazing. We talk about collections on the show, right?
Yeah.
Collect these things, you could be in some serious money. And that's why we talk.
I think I just might start collecting, guys. I might become a millionaire after 20 years. What?
Exactly. Collectomania is going to be back on cliffcentral.com. We skipped it yesterday because our guest let us down at the last minute the night before at 11 o'clock. But we'll have Collectomania and a brand new episode of that for you soon, just around the corner. It's brought to you by the South African Gold Coin Exchange. And I hope you'll join us for the next episode of that. All right, let's get to Toya DeLazy. I want to see what she's up to. We haven't spoken to her in such a long time, and she's one of my favorite people in the whole world. Here she is, looking absolutely magnificent, as always. Hello, Toya DeLazy. How are you, gorgeous?
Oh, hello, Gareth. Hello, guys. How are you guys
You're a
doing?
little bit soft. I don't know why, but there's it seems like your mic is like there's a gate or something on it. There's some kind of compression on your microphone.
You reckon?
Let's see if we can turn that up.
Okay.
There. Should be better now.
Okay.
Hear me now?
Yes.
How are you?
I am fine, thank you. So it's actually nice to reconnect. And exactly, it's been very long, but
Well, I've
yeah.
got so much to ask you and so much to talk to you about. I mean, first of all, what's been happening with you? Because it's been 6 years since you released any new music, and people have been asking, like, what's going on? Are you just trying to make us hungry for nothing? I mean, we
Yeah.
haven't forgotten who you are. We're waiting for the next big thing to come. So, what's been happening with your music?
You know, guys, like I went independent 2015 from the record label.
Yeah,
And yeah, since then you have to hustle on your own, right? So it took
right.
a really long time to get to this point that I'm at. But it's great because I felt like I know like everyone thinks I was like I'd already made it, but for me, while I was in SA at the time, I just felt like I didn't know what the world was about, and there was so much more I wanted to know and learn and grow. Also, just as a
Didn't you
human.
go overseas? You did go overseas for a while, didn't you?
Yes, yes, I tried
Oh,
New York.
mm-hmm.
I tried Los Angeles, and I was like, not really the vibe, and I don't want to get shot. And like it gets deep at that.
Get shot, and then you came back here, and there's people shooting and carrying on, right?
Nah, then I'm in UK now. So then I
Oh,
came to UK.
you're in the UK at the moment. Okay, sorry, I
Yeah.
thought you were over here. So you're not
Nah,
back in South Africa at the moment. So
no, no,
listen,
yeah.
I read a really interesting article about you the other day on Times Live. They basically said, here's the headline: Toya DeLazy believes her existence triggers hate because she's royalty.
Uh-huh.
Now, I know how it is when people make a headline up about you.
I know, but
Because this has happened a million times to me, and it's happened to you a million times too. Is that what you actually said? And if you did say that, can you explain to us what you meant? Because these articles never help you to understand what people really mean.
exactly. I think articles have actually made people really think I'm a weirdo more.
Mm,
But anyway, thanks for the platform.
sure. No, explain yourself because I'm sick of these headlines. Also, they're meant to get clicks. They're
Yeah,
not really meant to tell us about the people we care about. Yeah.
absolutely. So no, I mean, I'm sure I may have mentioned, but that wasn't like, oh my goodness, you guys hate me because I'm royal. I was just wondering why like
Mm,
people get so triggered by me. And I'm not making this up. Like I get a lot of social media hate. Often from South Africans, often from Black South Africans.
mhm.
And I don't know whether it's because I'm queer, whether it's because
Listen,
I'm
sorry,
royal.
just hold on. Toya, we really can't hear you. Can we just try and sort out your microphone? Simpiwe, won't you just help Toya just sort out the sound over there? And then because people are complaining that they can't really hear you so well, and I don't want you to be misunderstood a second time. It's bad enough. It's bad enough when the newspapers give you one time when they can't understand you. I'm just going to take you off the stream for a minute and then let Simpiwe figure it out just quickly. Toya the lazy, she's looking great. I love that hair. It's like it's insane.
Great
Fantastic.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, she has. And remember, the reason that we're talking to her about this in particular is she is a Buthelezi. So she's related to the Zulu king. She's related to Mangosuthu Buthelezi. She's someone who's been a part of South Africa's. I suppose she's been part of our social and celebrity clique for some time now. But she's also a hugely influential artist, and she's someone who is she said she's queer. That's the word she uses to describe it. And that's a confusing thing for a lot of South Africans, particularly ones who are more traditionally minded and more conservative. So we'll find out from her how all of that plays into the identity stuff that she constantly gets bombarded with by people. Because that's also, sometimes people are reacting because of the way they feel rather than anything to do with you. It's how
Yeah.
you make them feel, and that's what she's calling the triggering. So I want to hear all about that too. So we'll speak to her in a second.
It is still weird to me, like if somebody's gay or whatever, that people care so much, because I'm like, how boring is your day that your biggest concern is
Yeah.
that somebody's gay? Like I think to myself, get a job, or get a wife, get a girlfriend. Maybe you need some problems in your life, pal.
Yeah, you really don't have
Unbelievable.
you don't have enough to worry about if
Yeah.
that's the stuff that you think about all day. It's just very, very strange. I agree with you. It's like also, like someone's sexuality
Oh my God.
is not something that even their best friends get to deal with hands on. I mean, it's if you think about how much time in anyone, even if the most oversexed person imaginable, you maybe get 20 minutes to an hour of sex a day if you're lucky, right? If you're lucky.
Yeah. Jeez.
If what you do in those 20 minutes to an hour is so important to other people who are not, by the way, having sex with you, you got to ask why they would be so interested in it. There's something very strange about that. It drives me up the wall.
Yeah, it does. It's so crazy to me, and I understand. Obviously, I don't want to sound ignorant. We are an incredibly traditional and unbelievably conservative religious country, so I can understand within the fabric of our society. But I'm also like, I'm talking people that I think are pretty liberal. I'm like, no, in 2021, you still care about people being gay. Like, why is your life so boring? Because ultimately, for me, or not just me, is for
But
goodness sake, just try and be a good person.
Aren't these the same people who want to tell you to wear a mask when you're on your own in your own house? Aren't they the same people? It's that same authoritarian impulse, right?
They're a
That's
bunch
what
of dickheads. Yeah. No, like, I don't want to get academic about it. You're a bunch of dickheads.
All right,
Get
let
a
me see.
job.
Let me see if we can get Toya back on.
Yeah.
Toya, can you hear us
Oh,
now?
that feels good, man. How loud is that?
Much better. That's fantastic. All right. Good. So you were telling us just a second ago, I'm not going to go over old territory, but there was the story
Okay.
about you and how you trigger people. And you said you get a lot of communication from people in South Africa, people who are black, white, whatever. But they seem to be very triggered by the fact that maybe it's because you're royal, maybe it's because you're talented, maybe it's because you're not conventional, maybe it's because you're queer. What do you
Yeah.
think it is? I'm interested in what people say about you.
Ish. I really don't know. I think also, we're in a very conservative society, and this was one of the reasons I also had to leave. As an artist, you can't be your best self if you're also scared you might just get corrective raped or any of
Mm,
those things that kind of happen in our society. I needed to be in a place where I could be completely free to express every part of me, to be the best artist I can be. As a South African, as a Zulu, as a human being. So
But it saddens me
I
that you couldn't feel that kind of safety in your own home
no.
country and with your own people. That really makes me
Oh,
very sad. Do you feel more accepted in London? Do you feel more accepted in Los Angeles and New York?
well, definitely. I mean, I guess the free world has worked through, or the first world has worked through, the issues when it comes to whether it's the homophobias and, London is a huge melting pot. I mean, there's people from everywhere and a big African community here. So I don't know, people are okay. You could walk with a cat on your head and here. Nobody will look at you twice, Batter Island.
And
So
what is it about your being royal, which is again something you don't choose? That's like being black or being white or being gay. Frankly,
yeah, yeah,
it's something you don't choose. You can't help it. You were born into this family that has a position in society and has
yeah.
been in the news rather a lot in the last year. And by the way, I'm sorry. My condolences to you for losing family. There've
Yeah,
been for most of us
been
this is a
hard.
story in the news, but these are actually family members of yours.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It was kind of crazy. Uh, I didn't get to go home. I think it's kind of just hitting me.
No, you're allowed to be emotional about it. Don't feel bad about that. The king, the late king, Goodwill Zwelithini, he was like your uncle, right?
Yeah,
You spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah, and the Queen.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just been a bit crazy.
When people say to you that you're a problem for them in some way because you're royal, what kind of a response are you meant to have for that, and how does it make you feel?
I don't know. I think they just blame me for stuff that happened before I was born, like with my grandfather, which I don't know about and I've tried to ask about, but it's just awkward all around. Like, I can't even say the word Bopatong or something happened over there. And
Boy,
people,
but yeah.
yeah, and people got
You're
killed.
when you say your grandfather, you're talking about Mangosuthu Buthelezi, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
a lot of people like just get triggered by that. And like, even if I've got something cool to share, it's like, I'll just immediately get hate first. I don't know. I think I don't know. If you know, you must tell me one day and I'll fix it because it's like,
No, you don't have to fix a
I
damn
don't
thing, honey.
know.
You have nothing to fix. You know what? Other people have lots of things to fix in themselves. If they're the ones who are coming at you with hatred, that's really not your fault. What other people
Mm,
think of you is none of your business.
true. Yeah, but it gets a lot online. Like recently, I kind of also mine data, but like, okay, mine. I'm not like the big guys, but sometimes sometimes I just ask questions because I just know how they think. And I had this poll. I was like, okay, because they were like, oh, you fell off, you fell off, you fell off. Like they try to make me feel bad, even when I'm pushing, even when I'm on BBC Radio One. Like it's like,
Mm,
nah, it hasn't happened, you know. And
mm.
I was like, fine then. Here's a poll. Did I fall off or never left? And like literally 30,000 people were on that poll. And like they were making sure that like, it was negative. But either way, I was just like, wow, 30,000 people were there. It felt like a stadium. I've never had an audience like that since the plague.
How long have you been away from South Africa?
um, not too long because I came to South Africa again November 24, just as the lockdown was kicking in. So I was so lucky to get in. And then, yeah, I was here. I shot Resurrection with Carl Lewis in Cape Town. I stayed
Mhm.
here a bit. And then we had to go back because of the hotel quarantines in the
Right.
UK. Yeah, so February 19th, then I came back here. So, yeah, at least I saw you get home a bit. Yeah,
Well, so you mentioned resurrection, which is very cool. I mean,
yeah,
that there's also a bit of the story which is about taking a break. And you said you were going to take some time to focus on your mental health. Now, again, is that the
yeah.
newspaper headline? Is that the clickbait, or was that something that you put on your list of things you wanted to spend some time doing?
Yeah, wait, did they just announce that now or before?
No,
Yeah,
it was all
recent.
it was sort of
Yeah.
part of that article.
Yeah. Yes, I've had to. I mean, I realized that I actually, yeah, I don't think we actually respect the mental issues we have, especially as Black people and people of color in South Africa with everything we've gone through, apartheid and yeah, black and white. I mean, it affected both sides of the coin and worse for Black people who don't want to admit. And it comes through in our families, it comes through in our societies, it comes through in so many ways. And as a person like me, I'm a very free spirit, and when yeah, I guess when people attack you, it also affects you. I'm also a person who's lost both parents, so
Yeah.
I'm not really, I need this sort of support. I realized I actually need mental health support, and thanks to my girlfriend who hooked me up with that. I didn't even know that you could get through the issues I've gone through. I was self-medicating with alcohol and I'm way better now. I'm back into sports and yeah, and just healing my mind and trying to understand things. And yeah,
Well,
it's been really good.
you're looking terrific. Who's
Thank you.
this the girlfriend? How long have you been with her?
Guess. Guess how long?
I don't know. I mean, is this a girlfriend you had before you left?
The whole time. The whole time.
6 years?
No.
How long?
9.
Longer.
Yeah.
9 years.
A very serious relationship.
That's a yerr. Umshado. Just asihlanganisa ilobola sishade, guys. 9
Okay.
years.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I
That's
know.
that is about 4 times longer than any relationship I've ever had. you're more
Gave me
successful.
anxiety.
Bro, it is what it
Ideas.
is. It is what it is.
And you two, I mean, obviously it's a really good relationship, or you wouldn't have hung
Yeah.
around for 9 years. But she supports you because of, obviously, being a public figure, being
Yeah.
so open about your career, your life, your background, everything else. She needs to be strong to be able to
Oof.
give you the support you need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. Yeah, and those are the other things I try to protect, like when you've gone through so much, you've lost family, and yeah, well, you try to create your own, you try to make your own joy, and you can't have people attacking that. That's all I've got now. And the music, of course, but
No, of course.
yeah,
And
I try to protect that.
your music speaks for itself. And that doesn't need any defending at all. It's as good now as it's ever been. And to me, like that contribution that you've made to South Africa's culture, to our own musical anthology in this country, that's stuff that no one can ever take away from you, no matter how shitty they get on Twitter. Do you speak to your grandfather? When last did you have a chat with him? Because he's been really busy for a man who's like well into his 90s.
Yeah,
He just
man.
doesn't. He's not slowing down, huh?
Yeah, we haven't been in touch for whiles. I think because it's been so busy, and I'll be honest, I just wanted to kind of distance myself from the entire drama. It's just not good for my mental health. Like,
Has been a drama.
everyone
I mean,
was fighting, and my spirit is really chilled. I don't know, I can't handle it. And I'm just waiting for them to figure it out. And
settle down.
yeah, mate, it's a lot.
Well, I'm sure the new king still needs some time to settle down as well.
Yeah.
Because you obviously know him because you guys would have all spent time around each other as
Yeah.
kids. But has he reached out and said, "Hey, how you
What's
doing?"
up?
Because I mean, he was in the US for a while.
Yeah. Yes. Don Misuzulu is an amazing, amazing guy. Soft-spoken, beautiful spirit. And what I love about him, he would know the experience of a South African. Like, he's gone through life, So I'm happy that it's somebody who's not just blasé to people. And so, but I think he also needs time. As someone, I know what he's going through because he also lost both parents. Worse for him, first Isilo, and then straight after, a month later, in Lukulu. So he's been incredibly brave, and people are thinking now he must join all this noise. I'm just like, bro, just heal. You're going to be a king for as long as, like, he just needs to heal and then come through strong and focus. So that's my 2 cents.
And I mean, the Zulu people at the moment are having a pretty tough time because they're being pulled this way and that way by all kinds of politics. By
Absolutely.
I'm sure you've heard about all the riots and looting that are happening in KZN.
It's horrific. Yeah,
it
it's
really
bad.
it's very
It's
scary. And
horrific.
there's this leadership vacuum, which was probably made worse by the fact that the actual king is gone. And we had to find a new king. But there's so much pride in the Zulu nation, and there's so many people in the Zulu nation that take huge strength from the fact that they belong to this incredible history, this incredible culture. And it's something that you've infused into your music too. Are people curious about that in London, for example? I mean, do they ask you about being Zulu, about being in the royal family? Do they ask you about what kinds of things you grew up learning, the language, the sort of traditions, those kinds of things?
Yes. And I think that's what encouraged me to carry on. I don't know why in SA maybe it just didn't come across as much. Like, sometimes I feel like, we get a bit erased by our education because we're not really, it becomes a bit, not embarrassing, but for me, it was pretty tough at school, whether it was the color, the language. It felt like it was a bit of an erasure. And sometimes people come out of school not being able to even speak their home languages anymore. So, yeah.
Have you found anyone else to speak isiZulu with in
Tenjire, the comedian Tenjire? She lives here.
Yes.
So she came to visit me like a week ago. We just chilled and stuff. Yeah. So it's great. I'm glad they love that. But also I thought, as a South African, I'm here. English is from here. What can I share with them? that is different. I mean, there's thousands of artists here, and especially during the pandemic, it was like, what do I have to share? I mean, if we're gonna try tackle in English, I mean, this is their home.
Sure.
Yeah, I need to bring something else. And then I realized I was homesick as well. And then just drawing strength from, most people of color here don't know their history, and they only
Yeah.
know that they were slaves, So
Right.
me coming through with this, oh my goodness, do you know, like we battled the British in 1879. My great great grandfather was in there. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, and
Yeah.
I still, and I'm like,
Yeah,
and they're like, wow. It's just simple
Your
things.
three greats grandfather had dinner with Queen Victoria
I
at Windsor,
know.
and he negotiated part of the settlement of that Anglo-Zulu War. I mean, as her equal, there was a lovely story about her that she treated him, and remember, this is like in 1890 or 1900 or something,
1883.
around there. Yeah, I mean, she treated
Yeah.
him like the king of any European country, and at
Wow.
that stage,
Good.
that was unheard of. It's just, and he stood up for himself and he stood up for his people. This is Chwayo we're talking about now.
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, that's a hell of a story to share. Like, as you say, so many people of color have only this generalized narrative where they're not really, they don't know, because sometimes they just don't have the information. And sometimes
absolutely.
it's just, it's convenient to just like grab onto whatever narrative you can. But in your case, you've got this detailed history going all the way back to like 1600 and something, which is quite
crazy.
extraordinary. It really is. It's an amazing story. And also the fact that on the African continent, the Zulu kind of have a unique story, because
Yeah.
so many other tribes and nations were subjugated, and they were not.
True.
Isandlwana was a big embarrassment to the.
Yeah. That was
I
quite a
could talk
battle.
to you about this stuff all day long. I want to just quickly go back to something you said a moment ago. When you're at
Yes.
school, there seems to be this conflict between what you want to learn about the modern world, and then what you want to keep about your tradition and your language that you grew up with, and all of
Yes.
that stuff. And I think this is true for everybody, not just for people who are born into the royal family, right? How do you think South Africa is dealing with that? Do you think that we have figured out better ways of teaching people and making them feel pride in their history and in their culture? Or must our history, for so many people in this country, black people I'm talking about now, must their history always be wound up in this terribly depressing, terribly sad victim thing? Like, there's nothing there to be proud of. And for many people, that can be extremely painful.
Yes.
And if you've just got pain, and really there's a hugely colorful and interesting history for many, many black people in this country that they could explore if maybe our education system did a better job of it. But they don't.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot of work to be done. Just thinking that Zuleika, that young girl who still had to march for her hair to be like, stop polishing her hair.
Pretoria Girls High, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those things are not okay. You can't polish people's hair as much as you can't polish their skin or their language, And if we could, education should be teaching us about things like astrology or how to plan a funeral, or stuff. It shouldn't be taken away from who you are.
Right.
I've had brilliant teachers. I'm not going to take away from South African teaching, but I've been part of very toxic cultures as well within those frames, and those cultures have made me feel embarrassed about who I am, even coming from the rich heritage I come from. Just because it's black.
You hinted something here that I think a lot of people try to avoid talking about, but we do have a very again, I'm going to say these words even though I don't know that they apply
We're both
completely.
going to get dragged.
Like a toxic masculinity, patriarchy type thing. And believe me, I'm not one of those guys who jumps on the bandwagon and starts beating up on men in general. But we do have in South Africa a huge number of very damaged men who, because they don't know how to deal with their own damage and their own lack of the right role models, of fathers who were present in their lives, for various reasons. It's not their fault. But the fact is, they
No.
sometimes take that out on women. And you
Yeah.
mentioned right at the start of this, as a woman who's gay,
Yeah.
you were worried, and you still worry, I'm sure, about other women in this country who have terrible things done to them
Yeah.
because it hurts men's feelings. It makes men feel less than.
Yeah.
This is something that we've never really dealt with, and people are scared to talk about it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And this is where everything stems from. When I say we got mental health issues, the African family was broken up when people had to leave their homes for jobs, leave their families alone. As you're saying, it's not their faults, but this culture has continued, and that's why our dads aren't there. I also grew up without my dad. I still don't know why, and by the time I started getting to meet him and then I lost him, it's like, oh, all that lost time. I'll never know what it feels like to have that.
How old were you when he died?
I was 27.
Sure. And how long did you actually have between the time you reconciled with him and the time he died?
I think from wait, was I? Yeah, from I first met him when I was 15,
Mm.
and then yeah, it was like on and off until so it was just on and off from then.
Sure. That must have been tough because also, I mean, that's the, your name is a play on Buthelezi, Toya de Lazy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and when I think of you, it's only because we've spoken a couple of times that I know so much about your story, but for
yeah.
many other people, I mean, your music is the thing that makes them feel part
Oh,
of a tribe and part of a nation and part of like a creative spirit, which I think is very special. You got to keep doing that, man. We need to hear more music from you. And promise me that while you're in London, you're going to be working hard, doing some recordings. You're going to be writing some more music because we need
for
to hear more.
sure. For sure. I think Afro Rave is going to be a vehicle for, it's not only for me and Black and white South Africans. Like, I'm still working with so many South Africans. My video directors are from South Africa. Carl Lewis is South African.
Mhm.
My engineers are South African. My producer for Resurrections from Peter Maritzburg. I'm trying to
Are you
still bring it back
are you
home.
glad to be rid of the record companies?
Yo, listen, no beef, but yeah.
Right. Well, there are lots of people here who love you, who are very, very impressed by all your continued success. We don't think you've fallen off at all. I'm thrilled that you are still around and you're still. And listen, the people who are saying that, no one's ever heard of them, so they
Yeah.
must first look in the mirror before they start to worry about you and your career.
Yeah, and I also just need to learn not to. I just like responding. I respond to my fans. We communicate, and then I don't think people are used to that. And then sometimes they just take it as an opportunity to be mean. But I like it. You need to be a people's person. I think
Yeah.
also my culture, I grew up like that. The king wasn't separate from the people to that extent. Like
Mm.
if the people come talk, you talk with them. You don't ignore.
Indeed.
Yeah, imbizo. Yeah.
So, Toya, just quickly for the people who are in KZN, your own friends and family, and other people who are going through all this shit at the moment, do you have
Yo.
anything to say to them, just to kind of be in solidarity? That's really the big story in the country today.
Hey, wow. Guys, I think throughout all this is happening, let's start it at a human level. And I think that's what we've been talking about. Let's start at a human level. It could be your sister, your brother, your mother, your father. What you're doing, breaking down, it could be somebody close to you. So think of that. We are hurting other humans. Let's not hurt other humans, but let's find a solution. Like, take care of each other. 1994 is not that far. And when we fail to learn from history, that's when it repeats itself. So take care of each other and just remember we're all humans. We all hurt, but there is a way to get through this. Ngokuthi sikhulume bafowethu, singalimazani, singashisi umhlaba, because that's all we have. What's going to happen when we go back? All the people that are not going to have jobs, indlala, this is kotula, guys. So I'm just saying, it's not like I'm here now. I don't care. I'm out of touch. I know the history. We all know the history. We all knew this was coming, but can we not all die with everything in the process? there is
I
a
love
way
it.
out. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, listen, you've said some very very good, honest, and sensible things there. I think that we've been through a lot in this country. We'll make it through this as well. And
Yeah.
any excuse to talk to you is a good excuse. We love you lots, and we will see you soon.
Yes, I love you guys lots. And you told them about the Afro Rave album, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you know what we'll also do? The Afrowave Volume 1 is including the first single, Resurrection, is
Yes.
available. It's a full isiZulu album, right?
Yes.
And it's available. We will post all the links on cliffcentral.com this morning.
Thank
So
you. And it's a new genre as well. It's a genre that celebrates our indigenous languages through rave. So techno, drum and bass, left field
Beautiful.
bass. I've always loved those genres as well. So yeah.
Yeah, when you get back, we'll need a proper party. So Jameen
You're
just says,
invited.
"Love you, Toya," and Zuzi Lezungu says, "Princess Xolo, your mom would be proud
Oh,
of you, Halala girl."
oh, ngiyathokoza. Thank you so much. That's so kind. Thank
We will
you.
see you soon. Lots of love,
Thank you.
Toya.
Lots of love, Gareth. Thanks for having me. Bye, Cliff Central, guys.
Thank you. There she is, Toya DeLazy. Always good to catch up with her. I'm sorry we had a couple of sound issues in the beginning there, but once we got into it, there was lots to talk about. And yes, if you are in KZN, I finished off the show yesterday saying the same thing, or if you're in Gauteng, frankly, because it looks like it's all over the place. Just look out. Don't do anything silly. Don't put yourself in harm's way if you could possibly help it. And let's just take a big, deep breath as a country, because these kinds of things, it's not unusual. It's not unusual in South Africa. This has been happening to us in South Africa for a long time, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And it's not just to us. It's happening all over the world. There are lots of countries that are in very, very messy situations. The pandemic has put us through some difficulty, and now we've got this as well. So just take a big, deep breath, do what you can do, and you'll make it through the day. All right? Look after yourself. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock, bright and early. Be good. This is cliffcentral.com. I will see you tomorrow.